everyone. Thanks for joining us on the GYST Podcast, where we discuss topics to help you get your together.
Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another edition of your favorite podcast, the GYST Podcast, also known as Get Your
Shit
Together. My man, Glenn, thank you very much for chiming in with that little cuss word. 200 episodes in, I still remember. I think it was like episode 2 where Kyle and Christian were like, "It's our goal to make him cuss," and here we are, 200 plus episodes later, and whew, yeah. So
Kyle
thank you for
and
that.
I will swear that we heard you. We heard you cuss once. Great.
Glenn, this episode is geared perfectly towards us, and it was actually based off of so audience at home. Usually what we do before we have recording days, Glenn and I will reach out to each other and just kind of review some topics and things like that. So this time we were each given 2. So we each had to come up with 2 different ideas, and I started thinking about this podcast and how it's evolved, and especially all the people who have been a part of it. And then I thought about specifically Glenn and his part in the podcast. And then I started thinking about his part in my life. And the truth is, I mean, Glenn and I go way back. He's one of my oldest friends. So this friendship has lasted quite some time. And I thought, why not talk about that? We've done episodes on how to make friends as adults, but how do you then keep friends as adults? And it's difficult because you don't have the same childhood things growing up. It's not like Glenn and I have the same class. We don't even work together. And so, how do you make that work? So, Glenn, I'm gonna let you dive in a little bit into how we met and how that whole thing started.
I was
On that
just
dark,
coming.
dreary day you met me.
Yeah. Back in the day.
Oh, and the other thing, real quick, is we're going to talk about the goods and the bads. So not just how do you get along with your friends, but then when things are kind of not as well as they should be, how do you take the steps to really change that around? So sorry about that. It's all you, buddy.
No problem. So just to go back in history here, back in, let's say, early 2008, January of 2008, I was just moving up into the area from Vancouver, Washington, into Kent, Washington. In search of a job, I found a job at a local electronics retail store and came across this person who was very bubbly, very happy, and always very friendly and greeting. And I was always very standoffish and like, "Hey, bro, what's up?" No hugs, no. And really, I was kind of new in the area, didn't know many people in the area. I was working 2 jobs between this electronics store and another competitor electronics store as a warehouse person there. Loopholes. You got to find those in work nowadays. Anyways, came across Rohit. I always thought he was just too happy of a person. I just didn't understand the happiness. I was coming off a very difficult career move and move into a house for a family member who had passed away. And it, I don't know, I just didn't have many friends growing up. I only had one friend that I'd known for many years, and Rohit knows who that guy is.
You've even spoken about that relationship on air.
Have, yes. Because friendships do have a tendency to fizzle and fall out if they're not maintained properly. And then again, they'll fizzle and fall out at no fault of anyone in particular. Sometimes they die. But at the time, I only had one friend, and he didn't live anywhere near my new house in Kent. So it's like, you know what? I need to get out, get away from work and meet someone. And Rohit for months had been inviting me to parties at his apartment. And for a while, I was like, nah, man, I don't feel like it. No, I'm busy. Nah. Finally, one day I just said, I got tired of saying no and got tired of hearing him ask. I said, fine, I'll come. I'll go to one of your parties. Why not? As Rohit had said, hey, why don't you bring Rock Band? You play that all day. I'm like, well, okay, I'll bring Rock Band by. That's a party thing.
And also, if you wouldn't mind, please bringing up YouTube as well.
Oh,
you
yes.
know what I'm talking about.
The singing Arnold, yes. There's actually a video of me playing Rock Band at one of Rohit's parties. It was late at that time. I think most of the people, except for a few, had gone home. But we did play Rock Band, and the request had been for me to sing a song as Arnold Schwarzenegger. So the Singing Arnold is the title of the video. If you care to look it up on YouTube, it's there. Fun time too.
We'll I'll see if I can work my magic and put that in 3, 2, 1. Cool. Okay, go ahead.
Awesome. Yeah, so sorry about that. We had fun. I think everyone at the party was drunk except for me. I don't think I had any alcohol at that point. But we had a good time. Anyway, I kept going back to these parties because they were pretty fun. It was a good chance to meet different people and play video games, which is pretty much all I did outside of work was play video games. So it gave me an excuse to play more video games and meet new people. And I don't know. From then on, Rohit and I we'd get together. We'd go to movies together. We'd invite other people to midnight releases. Those were kind of fun. Until people stopped showing up, and then it just became Rohit and I going to the midnight releases. It's okay. We still had fun ourselves. We got to see good movies. Some of them, at least. The others that weren't so good, the others that weren't so good, at least we got to hang out for a few hours, right? And I don't know, we'd start talking about things that normally I wouldn't talk about with people I knew as acquaintances. You'd have to be a really good friend or family to know some of the stories of my life that I've shared with Rohit. And that's kind of where the friendship started building for us. Is I would open up a little bit about some of myself, and he would open up a little bit about himself. I think that's where relationships and friendships always start to build, is when we're opening up. And from there, it just built. We'd do different things. We'd try out different activities, right? We'd go to, my birthday trip, for example. I introduced Rohit to a burger place that, sorry, Fuddruckers, we miss you.
Unfortunately, there aren't any in the Northwest area. Last one was in Oregon that we used to go to. So.
Yep. Now we have to go to California or the Midwest to find a Fuddruckers. That cheese sauce, though, it's going to be the most missed thing there. We'd go to Christmas shopping events, right? We've gone to county fairs. I'm pretty sure we've gone to a concert.
Yeah.
And, a lot of those things are things I normally wouldn't do. Like, I wouldn't normally go to a county fair except to get food, because everyone knows the curly fries there are better than anywhere else you can get in the world. So, our friendship has been around, I don't know, things that we've done together. It started there, but it built into a, hey, here's my life. Be a part of it. I'm going to share little pieces of my life so you know more about me. And it's been a give and take on that front.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing that you said. You have to allow the other person into your life. And, there's the old school thought is I'm going to build up walls to protect myself. and therefore I'm not going to just be out in the open. I'm not going to let people in because it makes me vulnerable. There's opportunities to get hurt. Not just that, but a lot of times we feel like we're not worthy. Why should someone, if they try to get to know me and they realize there's not much substance to me, then they're going to leave. So I'm going to keep everyone at an arm's length. And my philosophy is different. I'm someone who trusts everyone until you give me a reason not to. I'm going to open up because I like those deep conversations, those deep relationships. And there's times when you want to be friends with someone, but it happens gradually. And there are other times, that I've even mentioned on air, where if I know I want to be good friends with someone, I just tell them straight out. I say, look, I feel a connection with you. I'd like for us to be close friends. Can we get there? I just don't want to do the little at a time. Let's go have dinner, or coffee, or something like that. And one of the things that I've been able to do is invite a lot of people to parties and allow people to network and get to know each other. There's no agenda. It's just whenever someone comes to one of my events, they always say, I really like coming here. I feel for the ladies, they always tell me that they feel very safe. And I tell them, oh, there's not a single person who's there, a single guy who, if you were drunk and passed out, I would not feel comfortable having them in the same room with you. I trust everyone, and that's why I invite them into my home. So first off, not only do you have good, honest people who are trustworthy, but you just have people who are going to go out of their ways to get to know you. People are always amazed that they'll come to a party not knowing anyone, and at the end feel like they know everyone because people will come up to you and say, hey, I haven't met you yet. This is who I am. And it was through these parties that got a chance to meet Glenn. And so when you talk about friendships, one of the things that Glenn mentioned is, we used to do, movie nights, and then we used to do different food events, and we used to do birthday trips. Now we're doing this podcast. And so that's one of the things that has kept it fresh is you have to constantly mix things up. If you have friends who are dedicated to only one thing and you just want that relationship to stay that way, then there's nothing wrong with that. So for example, with Glenn, him and I met by going to movies together. And if we just wanted to keep it that way, that's fine. But if you want something more, you have to both be willing to expand into different arenas. Personal development has been the center of my world ever since Glenn has known me. And we were doing this podcast. And when I knew that version of Glenn, pre-GYST, he wasn't into personal development. And he just said, that's your thing, not my thing. Cool. But through this podcast now, he has been a part of this for like almost 200 episodes, so you always have to be willing and make sure the olive branch is always there. And one day Glenn just felt, okay, the time's right. And so now this has become a part of our friendship. And what's it going to be in a few years? I don't know, probably something different, completely different. But you have to allow yourself the flexibility in not only each other, but the relationship as well. You can't just look at the way things are right now. And so Glenn, is that something that people can do on purpose, proactively, or do you just kind of have to let it evolve that way? And that's tough because it could be.
It depends on the friendship, right? It depends on the people involved in the friendship. Like for Kevin, Kevin and I, we go way back. It's sort of just naturally developed. And we didn't really change up our modus operandi to throw out a big term. I've always wanted to use it, by the way. We didn't really change up our...
That's one of them $2 words.
That's one of them $2 words. Yes, sir. We'll save that word for chili night. We didn't really change up our activities, the things that we did. We always had the same things that we were interested in, right? It was always the same kind of humor, same kind of movies, same kind of fun events to go to. If something came up that we didn't want to do, we just didn't do it. We didn't try different things. With Rohit, he's complete opposite. There are things that he likes that, okay, I'll do it. I don't know about it, and I'll try it. Generally, I'm more of a no guy until, until I get, just that itch to say, I'll try something new.
And mostly just to shut me up.
Right, pretty much. Hey, Glenn, want to come try this? No. The next day, hey, Glenn, you really should try this. Come on, Glenn. No. It's like that little yapping dog in the Looney Tunes, I feel sometimes. Hey, Spike, come on, Spike. You know the one I'm talking about. Nah, shut up. But no, not quite that way. It's more different personality types, right? So different personality types will act differently or need that kind of spontaneous or change and spontaneous changes in the friendship to keep things growing. People with the same attitudes, the same interests generally can keep the friendship going, and it grows naturally without changing things up. So you don't really have to be that proactive with it. So I guess it's just coming down to gauging the friendship, the level of the friendship, and the type of personality the friends have. Heck, when I was going to a Rohit party for the first time, I wasn't expecting to come out with friends. I did. Several of them I still have in my book of friendships right now. Heck, I've been to weddings for some of these people. I don't go to weddings. I hate weddings. But I go to weddings for friends because I want to celebrate with them.
Yeah. So we've talked about celebrating stuff and expanding stuff, but if you want a close relationship with someone, you can't just be there when the times are good.
No, you got to take a risk and be there when the times are bad. You've also got to be able to share your issues with someone when your times are bad. It's literally a give and take. That's what relationships are.
Yeah.
Can't always take and you can't always give.
And the most important thing is there can't be judgment. If there is, you're not going to feel comfortable going to the other person. If you think by talking to me about something and I'm going to be like, oh man, there goes Glenn again, like, whatever, you're not going to come to me. And there are some people who in friendships you have to hold each other accountable, but then you also have to allow a sense of flexibility. So if Glenn comes up to me and says, you know what, from now on I'm not going to do this behavior anymore. Let's just pick it's just something stupid. Let's just say Glenn comes up to me and says, I'm not going to watch any more movies for the rest of my life. Okay, cool. If I see him watch a movie, if I go up to him and be like, Glenn, I knew it. You always say you're not going to do things, and look, here you are again watching a movie. You can't be trusted. If I hold him accountable to that level, all that's going to do is build resentment towards us. He's going to avoid me now because he wants to watch a movie. So you have to allow some flexibility as well and support. So Glenn, there's one thing that I want to bring up, and that's being honest with the other person. And so, a story with Glenn and I, and I'm very non-confrontational. So I for the
No.
for the better part of my life have always avoided conflict. And then I realized how much that can hurt a relationship. Glenn already brought up that him and I used to go to the movies a lot, and early on, one of the things was Glenn liked to be a little bit more vocal during movies, and kind of pointing out the foreshadowing. So he'd be like, "Oh, like I think this is going to lead to this," and all that kind of stuff. And if you watch or listen to our episode about spoilers, uh, the way that we kind of talked about spoilers was anything that interferes with your viewing or your observation of the way that it was intended. So for me, I was like, like, okay, once or twice he said something, and I would just kind of let it go. But for me, it would kind of ruin the movie experience because I want to be told the story the director wants me to know, how the director is going to unfold these different layers to get to the meat of everything. And I wasn't able to do that. And I noticed inside, like every time he would say something, I would just like kind of like I felt like I was on fire because like I'm a little bit angry, and I love going to the movies, and the experience wasn't working out well, and it made me not want to spend time with him and go to the movies. Normally, I wouldn't have done anything. I would have just been like, next time Glenn calls me up saying, let's go to the movies, I would have been like, oh, I can't make it. And before you know it, the friendship just kind of falls apart and fades away. And I didn't want that in this case. And so I talked to him one time. We went to the movies afterward, or we went to dinner afterwards. And I was like, Glenn, can I just tell you something real quick? Like when you do this is how, ruins my experience or whatever. And he wasn't even aware. So it's not like he was doing it on purpose, or what a lot of people like who do that kind of stuff like to do is show off. Haha, I'm putting the pieces together before anyone else is. I see what's going on here. He's really his father. He wasn't doing it that way. He was just, that was how he enjoyed the movies and the friendships and the experiences that he went to. And so I talked to him, we worked it out, and I think we've gone on to like 100 plus movies ever since. And
I've only done it a couple more times since then.
but
try not to.
And things change. We started going to dinner afterwards, so we
Yep.
could talk about the movie and talk about like that foreshadowing and helping each other like kind of dissect the movies. And that way, I liked it because I got to experience it, and then I got to experience the conversation with you, and you enjoyed it because you got to still talk about it and bring up the fact that you saw all these different things. But not just that, but one of the great things about you is you are so into film that you would bring up Easter eggs that I didn't even know existed. And so how do you, like, have you had those types of awkward conversations with people, and have they worked out, or have they not worked out, or kind of what's been your experience there?
Kind of, yeah. But then again, that friendship fizzled and died. Yeah. So it's, I don't know. With Kevin, it was a little bit different, right? Just trying to help him get his life in order somehow, giving him a place first to stay where he can find better work than where he was living originally. Advice on how to get a job and how to build a resume. Something, simple stuff that almost anyone without that kind of training or knowledge would be happy to take. Then just small things would build up here and there, and frustrations would build up on both sides. And eventually it led to him leaving my house and me not allowing him to stay in my house. So it ended poorly in the friendship. So I don't know. I've never really had enough friends to where I'd have to have those confrontational moments. You know me, I'm very straightforward with how I'm feeling about a certain situation. Like, dude, this sucks. I don't like this. I'll just state it. I'm not very tactful at times. I mean, come on, man. Not even going to argue that one, huh?
Nope.
No, really. I try to come straightforward to someone to say, hey, this is the way I see it. I wear my feelings on my sleeve most of the time, and if something really bothers me, I push it off to the side. I hold on to it for later. It's kind of like that road rage incidents, right? You let things bother you, and it's not necessarily the people in the car, right? But you let things bother you for hours after it happens. A couple seconds in your day, and then you let it bother you for hours after. And for me, and I've got someone at my door. 1 second.
Did you want to go check it out?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to wrap up then. So while Glenn attends to his door, we talked a lot about friendships in this episode and what to do if you want friendships to last. And the important thing is you have to not only hold each other accountable, but you have to allow the other person the flexibility to change. And by holding them constantly to who they were when you first met them or when you first became close to them, stifles them. It doesn't give them an opportunity to grow. It doesn't offer you an opportunity to get to know a different person and grow along with them. So when Glenn and I first met, yeah, we did movies all the time, but then it changed to this and it changed to that. And we keep on evolving. And you heard him talk about the importance of opening up and holding each other accountable and offering some sound advice there. So while hopefully Glenn makes it back, and it's not someone who is murdering him. And if it is, this is going to be a super awkward podcast. So thank you very much for listening to the GYST podcast, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks, everyone, for listening to our GYST podcast. We hope you learned how to get your together.